The Off-Grid Prep Family Podcast.
Good evening.
It's the Off-Grid Prep Family Podcast, episode 29. Staying cool off the grid. I mean, temperature-wise. We're not the people to come to if you want to know how to be cool.
Well,
I mean, we have the I don't care thing going on. Maybe that's cool.
that's the literal definition of being cool.
Okay, well then you've come to the right place. Off-grid and the heat.
Mm-hmm.
This is the question. How do you deal?
Well, first, I don't live in a normal house.
Well, there's that. We'll get into that. I think the key is not needing the cooling.
Not needing AC. It's an art.
Yeah, and we have AC. We could run AC.
Mm-hmm.
It's August 3rd. It's 33 degrees outside. 95%
Celsius
humidity.
for our American friends.
I don't know what that is. 105? 106?
Like 100 at least.
Yeah. And we have not yet even considered plugging in or turning on the air
No, we
conditioner.
really haven't.
It's fine.
It's been an enlightening year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous years because we've been building our house,
Yeah.
we didn't have enough insulation in the roof.
Uh-huh.
And just this past spring,
Yeah, we added all that insulation.
we replaced our roof and we put in what I would call enough insulation.
Yeah. It's not a crazy amount, but
No,
it's
it's a
sufficient.
normal amount. We had
Yeah.
big gaps.
Yeah.
And
It's cool
yeah,
as a
it's
cucumber.
incredible. It's amazing. The walls, the
I mean, it's
floor.
not 70, but it's not 85.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's completely livable.
Yeah. First of all, the big question, I think we have time for this before the break. Yes, you can do AC off the grid,
You can.
especially if the sun is shining, which is when you mostly need AC.
Yeah, so it works out well.
Yeah. A small window unit, they can use 500 to 1,000 watts, so you just watch those numbers when you're buying one.
Mm-hmm.
If you have central AC, that's probably more like 3,500 watts.
Yes.
So you'd need to size your system accordingly.
It's a lot of power.
Running a 1,000 watt AC unit for 8 hours a day, that's 8 kilowatt hours, so you can do the math on your system. See if you
Yeah.
can get away with that and
And-
still run your freezer at night.
This is more of a question for an HVAC
Right.
contractor. But really, what it boils down to is if your system's adequately sized, it all depends on your square footage.
Yeah,
So this isn't a simple math equation. This is
right.
there's a whole art to how
If
much
you have a really
heat
big house and it's really not well insulated, maybe
you
that
know
wouldn't
what?
be enough.
what I really don't get is these uninsulated houses in Texas and hot places.
How do they...
Are you kidding me? It's a buffer.
Yeah,
Like, you need insulation.
whether it's a hot house or a cold
We are
house.
living
Yeah.
here at 100 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
and we are thanking our stars that
Yeah.
we have insulation, an exorbitant
Yeah.
R60 insulation.
Yeah.
We lived in the cottage,
Yeah.
and it had almost no insulation,
Yeah.
and it was
It's
torture.
like R13.
It was torture.
It was like an oven.
It was an oven,
Yeah.
and it was impossible to get rid of the heat. And I
Yeah.
don't
I
like.
don't
Is
know
this
why
just?
you
I think it's
say
just
so.
bad building. How is that code?
I don't know.
Right?
No.
Makes you question code. Why is that code? That shouldn't be code.
Anyways,
Is wrong.
You can run AC. It's better if you just don't have to.
Yes.
With that,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a quick break and thank Major Mom's Ground Control for also making the outside of our house habitable, bug-free, and weed-free.
I can't believe the bug reduction. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's derived from flowers and herbs and natural ingredients that you might use while, making your organic fancy soap or something. That's what's in it.
Ingredients you'd use to pickle beans.
Yeah. It's a herbicide and insecticide in one, and you use
It is.
it around your foundation, around your deck, your patio, fence lines, around your pool, for a peaceful, weed-free, bug-free experience.
It really is peaceful. It's beautiful.
And you can go to offgridprepfamily.com and visit our friends page for a $15 off coupon and free shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. The next thing that you want to do, if at all possible, and this is what has really helped us, or one of the things that's really helped us, is passive solar.
Mm-hmm.
A well-designed, well-insulated home built with cooling and heating in mind does you more good than the biggest AC and HVAC system you can put in.
It really does. You might be hearing some banging.
Those are
in
the bird
background.
bangers.
It's the bird bangers. These,
From the orchards.
I've only recently learned that these are propane-fired compression units.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's like the most inefficient internal combustion engine ever.
They made it inefficient on purpose.
On purpose, to make loud noises. Is that a Brick Tamlin joke?
Loud noises.
Loud noises!
Okay, so that's what the banging is. We are not in a war zone. It's the orchard. Okay.
Aren't we?
Aren't we?
Aren't we?
So we're talking about like window placement and sizes.
Yeah.
We have very few south-facing windows.
They're
and
very
they're
skinny.
small.
Yes.
We also have very few north-facing windows because we live in Canada.
And
they are
very
small.
few west-facing.
Yeah, we only have one west-facing
On
window.
our island, which is a really kind of an anomaly area, like the whole East Coast
Yeah.
is an anomaly, we get the most incredibly harsh west sun.
Yeah.
As that sun sets, it tries to burn the soul out of you. It's
We have like one main like large section of roof and it slopes towards the north.
yes.
Because that's where our cold wind comes from. And we have really large overhangs on our eaves so that in the winter time the sun goes into our windows and heats the front of our house, but in the summertime when the sun angle's higher, the sun doesn't go onto our wall as much and doesn't go into the windows.
Yeah, and we didn't really design this so much on purpose. I mean, we
We did,
but it was more an intuitive thing.
Yeah. We didn't get out the sun angle chart, but
No.
we knew what we were doing.
We had a feeling
I mean,
for what we were doing.
I knew what we were doing. But okay. Also, if you have thick walls from, for example, a straw bale or a cob house, and you place those windows sort of in the middle or to the back of that wall, you get sun in those windows in the winter, but not in the summer. Because it casts a shadow,
yeah,
right?
when the sun's high.
Yeah. Vegetation also, like living shade, right? Deciduous trees. We have vines on our south-facing walls, and it blocks so much heat and so much sun. And then
Yeah.
in the winter, the leaves fall off, and you get the full effect of that.
They
warmth.
soak up the sun.
Yeah. We also have a pool with rooms sort of centered around it, around the courtyard, kind of like they do in the Middle East. It moderates the temperature.
It really does.
It makes it warmer there in the winter and cooler in the summer, and it creates like this little microclimate. You can also grow things in that courtyard later on in the year than you could out in the garden.
I'm amazed at
Yeah.
the performance of the vines in the courtyard versus down in the vineyard.
Yeah, it's like they think that they're in Greece or something.
It's incredible.
So that's passive solar.
Which is really 90% of it.
It's really...
It is most of it.
It's kind of like, yeah, plan well and then you have less work to do later. There are other options as far as like off-grid things. If you don't live in a humid climate, we live in a super humid climate. But if you don't,
Surprisingly humid.
You could use a swamp cooler. Keep it clean so you don't give yourself black lung.
We built a swamp cooler.
Yeah, it doesn't work here because it just makes everything
No,
sweatier.
it's just sweaty. It's just,
Also, the air can't hold any more moisture.
if you're in the desert, anywhere in the southern U.S.,
Yeah, you can probably get rid of that.
southwestern U.S., I should say, people in Georgia would be cursing me for
Yeah.
claiming I have humidity
Yeah.
issues.
I don't
You
know.
can
It's always 95 or up here, so I don't see how it could be more
I don't
humid
know-
anywhere else.
Why isn't 100 water? That's what bothers me. The humidity index, 100% humidity.
Should be you're swimming.
You're swimming underwater.
Well, when it's 100, it's kind of like we're in a cloud.
It really is, actually.
So,
yeah, that's true.
Okay. Also, earth ships could be cool. That depends on your climate. I know there's one here, and he's always complaining about how cold it is in the winter.
Can't imagine that thing's still alive. There's no way. It's been
Yeah, they
years.
were always moving out during the winter
Always.
because it was too cold.
Also, on my previous comment, I'm sure there's some scientist somewhere rolling in his grave at my lack of knowledge on
Yeah.
the topic.
It's not an HVAC podcast.
No.
Okay. You can look into something called an absorption cooler. They're on YouTube. They're sort of one of those DIY hobbyist things that people like to do. It's off-the-shelf parts. The one that I saw actually used more power than our AC unit, but I mean, I feel like the concept is
Really?
good. Yeah. There's also earth-coupled heat exchangers where you it's sort of like, what's that thing called where they drill all the wells?
Geothermal?
Yeah, only somehow it's the opposite
Is it
of
an
that.
air-to-air thing?
I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
I
I think
could,
they make tubes under the...
yeah,
and then
so what
you're
they do
using
is
cold air.
they put Big O,
Okay.
weeping tile. I know you know what Big O is,
Yes.
but for our listeners, Big O is a 4-inch diameter perforated, kind of ribbed PVC black tubing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like a giant hose.
Okay.
And they basically excavate the site, and they lay all this giant hose,
Okay.
but not, quote, weeping tile. There's no holes in it.
Okay. So it's just filled with air.
It's just filled with, it's filled with ambient air.
Right.
Like, they don't fill it with anything. It's
Okay,
just cheap
yeah.
PVC tubing.
Okay.
And they lay it all around the ground in these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is the ground is generally always cool.
Like a cold basement.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you run into the same issues as when you're trying to do a swamp cooler.
Right.
Like the air
It's a
going through
humidity
there
thing, yeah.
is catching all the bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to run a UV filter, which uses power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole other thing with
Right.
logistics.
It'd be like geothermal. You'd never run geothermal off-grid.
No, never.
Like, not unless you were a multimillionaire.
Geothermal was the birth. It was the time where the technology gave birth to heat pumps, modern heat pumps, which are basically just compressors.
Right.
So you turn electricity into compression, which generates heat.
Yes.
We're not going to get into the science. I know the science. It involves refrigerant and cooling,
Right.
but
Probably too much.
it's
for
too much
off-grid.
power.
Okay.
Which, frankly, if it doesn't work off grid, it shouldn't work in normal quote
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Like, there's a thing there where
If it doesn't make any sense off-grid, it's probably not something people should be using unless you're expecting rolling brownouts.
exactly, and this is a new thing where people are commenting on how the grid, there's all these things comments to cut usage,
But we should all drive a Tesla.
which charges from
Yeah.
the coal-fired grid.
We should all get a heat pump,
Oh my god.
and then nobody has any...
If I see one more heat pump ad, I swear.
Attic insulation would be my number one.
Number
Thing.
one, attic insulation.
Not everyone can live in a straw bale house.
No.
Everybody can beef up their attic insulation.
Yeah.
You need to learn your home and do the curtains closed, windows open on the other side of the house dance.
Yeah.
We have some really thick, heavy curtains. They're actually made out of drop cloths from Home Depot.
But cotton.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could buy cotton in that
You
amount.
can check out Farmhouse on Boone if you want the tutorial for the drop cloth curtains.
Yeah.
It's easy.
It is. Go to Home Depot.
It's the cheapest fabric you can buy.
They actually have 2 lines of canvas drop cloth.
Yeah.
It's like it's some kind of a fashion store.
Ooh, I get the fancy one.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, learning where the sun hits. If the sun's hitting that window and that side of the house, you close the windows, you close the blinds, you close the doors. You keep them open on the shady side, and then
Oh,
it around.
and if you want to know how to turn your drop cloth that you buy at the hardware into actual curtains, step 1 is having 2 working brain cells, and step 2 is $100 on a cheap sewing machine.
Yeah.
Like, this is really,
Our
this is
curtain
the advantage
rods
of technology.
are shaved trees, like
They are.
saplings.
They're saplings that died in their 3rd or 4th year. Like, they're a
And we
couple of
just
inches in diameter.
Shaved the bark off them
Yep.
and put them there. Yes.
They're resplendent. I'm looking at a set of curtains in my bedroom now, which has a total cost of about $5.
Yeah. And they're
And
thick and
really
they
not
look
that
like
much
linen.
labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
All right. Do I have enough time to talk about our values, or do we need to?
No, I think you do.
Okay.
You absolutely do, because this is really important.
A 2x4 wall with fiberglass insulation. Depending on the insulation, you're going to get ideally R13 to R15. That's
Now-
if you do it perfectly.
Yes. Now, there were recently a bunch of tornadoes in Ontario, and these walls were 2 by, we're going to go air quotes, 6.
So
which
5
is
and 3/8.
5 and 3/8.
Okay.
Not even 5.5.
Yeah.
Look, what kind of gut punch is that? Thanks, logging industry. And what's the R value of a 2x6 wall?
R19 to R21, depending on if you use cellulose, blown-in fiberglass.
So you've got all these houses, best case scenario, built with 2x6 walls.
Yeah.
It's a very specialty thing to have a builder go beyond that.
Yeah.
And our walls have R60.
Yeah.
From what we can tell,
It could be more because we kind of went a little heavy on the stucco.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And we put our bales the thick way.
so
So
the
they're a
grains
couple-
facing out.
Yeah, so they're a couple inches thicker because we had the square footage and we were like, why
And
not?
bales are cheap. They're still cheap,
Bales are cheap.
relatively.
And they stack better if you
We
put them
still
that
could
way
build our
anyways.
house for an entire zero
Yeah.
less than what you build a normal house.
Yeah.
And 3 times the R value, I don't see where
I don't Log cabins, you're looking at R1 per inch. So if your average log is 10 inches thick, that's R10.
that's abysmal.
You can add like that polystyrene-y sort of stuff.
Yeah, but that's
You gain about 4 R4 per inch.
it's awful.
Getting the house right.
But this is important.
And
Laying
getting-
out all the styles.
Getting picking the right house to begin with or building the right house to begin with saves you so much energy and time later on. And on that note, it's time to talk about Thrive Life because we have a coupon code on our website for 15% off your first order, and they have 25% off August specials. So you stack those two up and you get some pretty cheap freeze-dried corn.
Yeah, that's really great.
It's only 6 items that are on the August sale. Corn, blueberries, peach slices, pineapples, broccoli, and peas. We do so much with that freeze-dried broccoli. It is so handy in the winter for broccoli cheese soup and stuff.
All of those fruits.
And everybody loves sweet corn.
Yeah.
The only problem with sweet corn is trying to keep it in the house and out of your kids sneaking it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, go to our friends and affiliates page at offgridprepfamily.com. 15% and 25%. I know where I'm going right after this podcast before everybody listening sells out. Okay. Also, air leakage is crucial. So, like, if you're going to shut up your doors and windows, winter or summer, you lose more heat from air than you do from insulation.
You do. But there is an art to it in our house. You still have to allow vapor to transfer through.
Right. A straw bale home still breathes.
It breathes.
But we have such high R value that it doesn't.
A
really
modern
make a
home,
difference.
there was a thing,
The leaky condo syndrome.
ironically, back in the 90s
Yeah.
called R2000.
Ooh.
And it was these condos they built in Vancouver.
I remember.
And it was,
Yeah.
I think it was like the topic of feces.
We learned about it in
Does
school.
feces rhyme with feces?
Oh, it should.
Does it mean everybody's full of you-know-what? I just thought of that now.
Stop.
Anyway, they buttoned all these houses up with plastic.
Yeah, and
And
then
then everything
put
rotted. Every apartment.
acrylic stucco on them,
It was
and
insane.
everything just got black mold, and they all had to be ripped out.
I'm sure some of our listeners have seen those videos where there's like a water leak, and then the paint like just bubbles and holds
Right.
that
You
water
get
and
this giant
expands.
bubble on your ceiling.
So clearly that doesn't breathe moisture. Anyway, there's an art to the stucco and the concrete
Yeah.
and the natural materials. And concrete is a very natural material.
Yeah. Well, and mostly it's beach sand for us.
For the most part, yeah. It's
The
4 to
majority
1.
of our house is waste product from a neighboring field of organic wheat
Yeah,
and beach sand
yeah.
and lumber milled from here.
And there's many documented cases of the grass, which becomes a straw, lasting for decades,
Hundreds of years, yeah.
like centuries.
As long as it doesn't get wet, nothing's
Yeah.
going to happen to it.
And even if it does get a little wet, as long as it can breathe, it dries out and
Yeah.
it's fine. It's this amazing byproduct.
And
Anyway,
it's a waste product. We're all
it is a
about
waste.
that. Reusing.
You'll find most of this information when you look up thatched roofing, because that's where most of the
Those thatched roofs last for like hundreds of
Yeah.
years. All you have to replace is the ridge piece.
yeah. So basically, we've built our house
Yeah.
as a giant thatched roof,
And then we covered it in
and then we
stucco.
cover it in concrete and
Yeah.
beach sand, and it's incredible. We're 5 years in now, and
It performs very well.
yeah, I'm amazed. I mean,
And
it was
has
an
the cute
experiment.
vibes.
It's adorable. Yeah.
So with that, the last tip I would have is, instead of running your air conditioner, go for a swim.
Yeah.
Creek, lake, beach, pool. Our kids are in the pool like 3 times a day.
Constantly.
Constantly in the pool.
Yeah.
And if they aren't in the pool and it's way too hot, we actually get a lot of like school and like online work and stuff done July and August.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hot.
It's too hot to work. It's too
And
hard
so then,
to build.
and then in like September, October, we like do more outside stuff again. We usually take like May off from school and September.
Yeah.
Because that's just what works with the heat and the jobs around here.
Mm-hmm.
What else are we up to right now?
It's cucumber season.
It is cucumber season. Today we
It's
did another 5-gallon pail.
Literally
of cucumbers.
exploding.
It's ridiculous.
It's been
I'm so excited.
like a week.
We're going to have like 30 gallons of cucumbers.
It's insane. Yeah, we're getting at least 2 gallons a day. It's amazing.
So today we did 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so the recipe, if you're wondering, if you too have cucumbers on your counter and you're wondering, what am I going to do with these? The recipe was clean 5-gallon pail. Preferably a white one with a number 2 on the bottom of it, so it's food safe. But you know, you use what you got.
Use what you got.
I used 2.5 cups of salt. I dissolved it in just enough hot water to make it dissolve, and then I filled the rest of the bucket, about say like half full, with Berkey water. I added some garlic, some dill, some grape leaves.
Did you put garlic in there?
Yeah, I put in 3 cloves of garlic.
Like, did you break them up?
Yeah.
Or Nice. I didn't know that.
Right? Garlic, dill,
Cool.
pickles. Then we layered in pickles, which you have to cut the blossom ends off. I just cut off both ends, really tiny amounts. If you don't cut the blossom ends off, your pickles go mushy.
Oh,
At
I
this
didn't know
point,
that.
if you want to like slice them or make like spears or something, you can. I just did like whole pickles this time because the kids love that. It's like going to Disneyland or something.
Yeah.
You get that giant pickle.
It's a lot of fun.
Then
It's like a vegetable version of a turkey leg.
totally.
I never did the turkey leg.
No.
I wanted to.
I think we bought one once in all of our times to Disney. We bought one once, and it's such a greasy, disgusting mess that you end up like tossing it. You're like, is this a
Right.
pig leg? Like they're so.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Big.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that's the case there now.
Oh yeah, probably not.
With all,
We're
all
never
of
gonna
the,
go to Disney
let's
again,
say,
so we're just gonna hold on to those memories.
non-humans that exist there. I don't even know.
Non-somethings.
I mean, I guess their thing is fantasy,
Yes.
but ew.
Anyways, I'm just gonna hold on to what Disney used to be. And okay, so you layer in pickles, or at this point, cucumbers, grape leaves. Cucumbers, grape leaves. And if you need to, you add more water as you're going until you get almost to the top. Then you put in something to smoosh them all down. I put in like a big full layer of grape leaves as like a cap, and then I put in a big bowl, and then in that bowl I put in some scrubbed clean rocks to weight it down so that everything is underwater. And then I put the lid on loose, and I'm going to check them every couple of days, and when they're not salty and they start tasting like the right amount of sourness, then we either refrigerate them or we'll just like quickly water bath can them or even oven can them.
And did you just now? Did you talk about your actual recipe, like how the
2.5 cups of salt and
Right.
5 gallons of stuff.
Right. So something happens with the salt and the fermentation.
It's called lactofermentation.
Yeah.
If you have an old batch of pickles that are like already done properly like that, you can add that. It's like a bacteria thing,
It's amazing.
and it makes it go faster.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to. It'll find it on its own.
Yeah.
If you're doing something more like carrots, like something less watery, you can cut down a little bit on the salt.
Now, this all started because we canned what we would call in this century we use traditional canning
Yeah,
methods.
just like the recipe from the
Once
ball
again,
can book.
air quotes,
Yeah.
traditional.
Like the last 30 years traditional, yeah.
And it's a goddamn mess. First of
Just
all,
like
It uses
vinegar,
which is not vinegar. Vinegar is
Well,
wine that has...
you could use like apple cider vinegar, but can you imagine how much it would cost to do an entire year's worth of canning with apple cider vinegar?
It would be exorbitant. Yeah. Vinegar, until very recently, used to be spoiled wine that fermented too long. Actually, I was just in the pantry tonight, and one of the jugs I gotta do tomorrow, or it's gonna be way too dry.
Okay.
So vinegar is wine that fermented too long. But all of modern vinegar, frankly, comes from gasoline. It's called acetic acid. It's a chemical transition from some horrible byproduct. It has nothing to do with the roots of vinegar's origin.
But it'll kill any bug, and
it's horrible. We got such terrible heartburn for the last 2 years from all the canning we did. Mm-hmm. We have to wash it off just to eat it, and even then, it's basically in a mousse-bouche.
Also, it makes mushy pickles.
It does. It kills everything.
Yeah. And I don't like mushy pickles. I like bouncy pickles.
There is an actual art that is still what we're doing now, and what we're just relearning in terms of natural canning, live cultures.
It's like the way that at first you're just happy that you could make a loaf of bread that didn't suck, and cook a whole chicken without it being raw in the middle.
Yes.
But then you're like, I'm gonna spatchcock this chicken, and I'm gonna grow it myself. And I'm going to harvest it myself, and I'm going to make some sourdough bread. Yeah. Like, you, go up a level.
Well, no, what really happened was just in the last 2 or 3 generations, after the World Wars, everything just became violently industrialized.
Well, it had to become easy so that both parents had time to work. If you were still sourdough fermenting and... Yeah. Remember, my grandma used to talk about how she'd order a chicken and it would show up on her doorstep in a cage. Yeah. And, that was your chicken for the night. And, every housewife just knew how to dispatch a chicken and just pluck it on her back step.
Could you imagine that?
No. So now we don't have the skills, but...
And that was your grandma. That's not that long ago.
We have canned ham and canned everything and Ritz crackers.
And it's all crap.
It's all
garbage.
Good. But it has to be easy, because otherwise, how on earth are they going to get all that income tax?
Exactly.
Anyways, we're off track.
We are, but this is important stuff. It is. It's good stuff.
It's all related. Do you have a quote for me today, dear?
I do. It's all about cooling your home. It's not about expending energy to cool your house. The important thing is about preparing your house to be cool in the first place.
What wise person said that quote?
I don't know, some jackass.
So that's Carter, the off-grid dad.
That's an original quote, I hope.
Original.
Design it, build it right in the first place.
Yeah, or if you were in a house already...
He says, paraphrasing his own quote poorly.
If you're in a house already... It's easier just to insulate it and try and make it better than it is to try and cool it.
Just, if you live in a hot or a cold climate, just add insulation. Because that buffer is everything.
Yeah, and then you're using less energy and less money long term.
What was that thing you pointed out about Georgia? It's insanely hot. Yeah. But at night...
It cools down.
That's the perfect example of a time to use insulation.
Yeah, because then you can let your house fill up with cool air.
They don't use insulation
all night, and then close it up during the day.
Or
stay cold.
Now, everything we say, there's an option.
Okay, what?
Drop your clothes and run into the bushes. Like one of our favorite characters in the John Steinbeck book, The Grapes of Wrath. Remember the handicapped kid? He just walked into the forest.
The special uncle.
He just left.
He just waded down the river.
Now,
that's also an option.
If you are not shocked with immediate terror, knowing that that's a horrible decision, you're an idiot, and you need to do more research. But if you're a real person, you can hear these words and understand, okay, I need to prepare. Yeah. I need to work on the basics.
And then it's easier.
It is easier.
You make one hard year of extra insulation, and every year after that is easier.
Easier doesn't make you fat. It doesn't make you lazy. No. Easier means you have space to do real things better stuff.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Now that we've alienated our entire listenership, thank you if you're still here. If you could share our podcast with a friend, that helps so much. Or give us a 5-star review. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
If you don't mind.
Thanks, y'all. See you later.
Bye.